actually are a little self-sacrificing and are able to do so without freaking the hell out. And I don't think people understand anything you use that's plastic is petroleum.
Absolutely.
Plastic comes from oil. That's
Absolutely.
where it comes from. Yeah. So if you reduce your plastic intake, or like you said, use shopping bags, the cloth shopping bags. It's not just because it's a green thing or anything else. You have to look at it a little more dynamically than that. That there is many ways that you can contribute. And then you can say, well, what's my little part going to do? If nobody else is doing it, well, then screw it.
Just to give you an option, paper, plastic, that kind of thing. You don't even get an option of paper and plastic anymore. And I noticed that at some of the markets, like when I go to Safeway, right when you come in, they have these little fiber bags hanging there that you can buy for a couple bucks or whatever when you go in the door if you want to use those to shop with. But they're not offering fabric or plastic. You want fiber, right. You pay for it. But really, plastic never goes back to Earth. It does not degrade. And right now, plastic water bottles, so many people are drinking bottled water that it is absolutely taking huge amounts of landfill space just for the pop bottles and the plastic bottles. All of that can be recycled. It can be crushed and recycled into park benches. It can be recycled into building materials. You can put it with sawdust or wood chips and make really strong. If you put hemp fiber with shredded plastic, it makes basically an indestructible piece of building material. It doesn't degrade. It doesn't, it forever, and it doesn't. It doesn't get compromised like wood by water and weather and age and all those kinds of things. So nobody, I don't think people think about that while they're, while they're using things. How do you reuse them? Even like glass jars. I save all of my glass jars. I might not be able to can them, but I can make jam and do wax seals in those. I can use them for dry food storage. I can use them to sprout plants. I use them for a number of things, but people are not reusing anything, and we just live in this throwaway, mindless, everything's replaceable society. Wives and husbands are replaceable. Your car, your toys, whatever. Everything is just, we just live in this total throwaway society.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Hey, John, let's go to our first Survivor Bay giveaway, shall we? You handle it, big guy.
Okay, let me get my hand on the old prize wheel here, and we'll give her a spin.
Are there any E's? Oh, that's a vowel. That's right. Shit, I haven't seen.
You were public school educated, wasn't you?
That's right.
The first winner tonight is Piano to Precious.
Very good. Piano to Precious. Our co-host will be contacting you within the next 5 minutes. So, be ready. Be very ready.
Be afraid.
Well, see, I have this little digital thing here, and I input a number between how many guests are in there, and it just sits here and flashes numbers, and then the numbered person, like we got 4 or 5 people down there with real names. If it comes up with number 3, then I know who number 3 is or number 2 is. That's Piano to Precious. So that little sound effect we have there, of course, just makes it a little bit more fun.
So anyway, and I just saw Crusade for Truth in the chat room was talking about trying to get people to garden, and that had enough plants to feed the whole town. Not one would help. Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. I actually did my garden a little differently this year. First of all, my soil sucks. It absolutely sucks. It's so acidic because I am just surrounded by acres and acres of pine trees. So it makes it very, very, very hard to get the pH right in order to grow anything. So I limed the snot out of the soil this spring, and I used quicklime so that I didn't have to worry about waiting. And I actually got it up to a point where things are starting to grow. But one thing that I did do is I said to myself, well, now how in the heck am I going to be able to do this without power like a rototiller or anything that automates things that run on gasoline? So I did it all by hand. Holy crap, Gwen. That was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done, because it was I think my garden's 40 by 100, so it's a very big size. I did it all by hand, and I'll tell you what, whoo, that hurt. I'm still hurting.
Yeah, I that's how I am too. I turn it with a shovel, and I don't know, like where I live now, I can't have a garden, so I've got a lot of big pots that I'm planting things in, and hopefully when I get out on the land, then I'll be able to, transplant everything out of those pots and into the ground. But even here where I live, I can't have a garden. I mean, there's no place to have a garden. That does not mean I'm not going to take no personal responsibility for my food sources, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be going to the farmer's market and buying fresh produce, organic produce, and canning it, because I am. And I'm also going to go out on the land and harvest what grows wild. People are just so doggone lazy, and I don't know what it is, but it just aggravates me to no end.
It's a culture of convenience, is what it is. I mean, we've just gotten very, very spoiled. The American people, down to the very poorest of the poor, is just, we're spoiled. You just don't realize it. But let me tell you something. Go overseas. Go to Djibouti, Africa, and see how they live. I mean, there are people there when I remember our ship pulls into port there, and we offload our trash, and it goes into a dumpster. Wouldn't you know that dumpster probably didn't have anything left in it after we threw all that stuff away, because it was all picked away.
Well,
that's the way people live.
Down on the reservation, people say, "Oh, that's the poorest county in the nation," and I look there, and no, it's not the poorest county in the nation. Poor people don't waste. They don't have perfectly useful, repairable things cluttering up their yards and that kind of thing. They're making use of those things. And even that's another thing, too, like on the reservation, if you live in a housing cluster, they don't allow you to plant a garden. You have to get permission from housing to plant anything. I'm thinking, but it's okay to plant trash and garbage all over your, but you can't plant flowers in gardens. What the hell? It's like, hello? I mean, it's just retarded, Another thing I want to mention that I really pay attention to this. Many years ago, I read a book called A Pattern Language, and it is a textbook for architectural students. Is where it's most commonly used, but it's a brilliant book, and it talks about how to design communities, and it talks about living spaces, indoors, outdoors, in a neighborhood, in a city, how to design these cohesive living spaces that promotes community interaction, positive feelings, areas where people can relax and people can get together as groups of people. All of our neighborhoods in this country are designed completely the opposite of that. The closest we get to that in this country is a cul-de-sac.
Wow.
They're designed to keep people from interacting. Our neighborhoods aren't built with curving roads. They're built with these straight lines, so everybody is separated by this divided line. There's nothing meandering. There are no common spaces. There are no areas where walls are built out of hedges where people might just want to go sit in the shade by them, you know. It's really sterile, this just sterile colonial divide and conquer. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's really. I've read that book, A Pattern Language, probably 5 times from cover to cover. It's a huge book, but it's so full of information. And then when you have that information and you look at where you live, you see how the planners, the commissioners, and the government, how they design all this stuff to keep us not communicating and not being in community and in neighborhoods anymore. It's we don't have that local mentality, taking care of our own. Let the government do it.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, even still, I mean, take a look around you. You got kids walking around with their pants hanging down half off their ass, and it's just disgusting. Do you really want to take care of something like that? And even when you do, and you do help somebody out, you get boned in the long run anyways. You do one thing wrong, somebody wants to sue the pants off of you. I mean, maybe that's what happened to all these young kids running around with their pants hanging on their ankles. They did somebody wrong and they got their pants sued off of them.
Yeah.
But there's such a disconnect with people these days. It's a real shame.
It is a real shame. Anybody want to chime in? The number to call, 646-727-3387. It's 646-727-3387. Remember, the next Survivor Bay drawing is at 9 p.m., probably a little bit after that. God only knows. I don't know. We don't go by time or anything like that on this show. No, sir. Not us. So, I want to talk about something else here, outside of the fact that nobody communicates and our neighbors suck and everybody sucks. Let's talk about Herman Cain, shall we? There's a very interesting thing. He's kind of if you watch him, he is very appealing. And we all know that Obama is going to be very, 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 very hard to take down in this upcoming election. And we further know that any independent candidate doesn't stand a chance because there's too many people out there that just... So, with that said, here's Herman Cain. Herman Cain, in my opinion, and no disrespect to Ron Paul, because Ron Paul is still, I would love to see him become a president. I just don't see it happening because he is as much of a following as he has in a grassroots standpoint. He just doesn't have enough mainstream appeal. And here's Herman Cain. Now, the interesting thing about Herman Cain is that people probably don't know that what was the name of that pizza company he was CEO of? It had a ship for a logo. Anyway, he was a former pizza company CEO. He was a president, I think, of the Kansas City Federal Reserve.
Goodfellas Pizza.
Goodfellas Pizza or something like that. That's right. And and he's got a good message, and he's a conservative radio host. But I really think, and what are your guys' opinion on this? Do you think that he really stands the only chance at defeating Obama?
No.
Well, go ahead, chime in.
No, I don't. I think he was just thrown in there as somebody to help split up the vote. I think the powers that be are scared, and they're throwing some other guy in there. And I don't care if he's black, white, purple, blue, or pink.